If I could describe my experience of foster care for the past 10 years in just one word, I would say it was hell. I entered foster care at age 8, I believe. Life is not easy in foster care. It's a struggle all the way through. You're property of the state, basically. It's like without all the violence and bad things that actually do happen in prison, it's like a prison for kids. You can't run away from it, they'll catch you. Since I was 8 years old, I've probably moved about 50 to 53 times.
I couldn't imagine an 8-year-old on his own moving 5 times a year. I can't imagine how overwhelming and he would have felt as a young adult, how disenfranchised from society that he would feel. I couldn't imagine that a child would see the world as a happy, productive place that they even wanted to belong to.
As I was growing up, some people told me like I was a waste of life for them. I wouldn't amount to anything, and like just stuff that would really destroy you if you didn't have any support.
In my mind, that was heartbreaking because in his mind, there was no one he could count on that was going to follow him in all of those places until it finally clicked. Jenny is going to follow me.
Stir them just a little bit.
Oh, you can give them a good stir. Voices for Children teaches CASAs how to become a part of a treatment team, just to be one of the many pieces in watching this child grow up and trying to find the fit that works best for him and to work in his best interests.
When Jenny came into my life, I didn't really understand who she was at first. It took me a couple years, but once I realized it, and it helped me learn more about who I needed in my life and who I should look for as far as other people in relationships.
Being a CASA has been a roller coaster. I have seen Trey in situations that I felt really good about, and so I would be real hopeful and this is the placement. And then I would see him in places that would be, I consider, depressing, where he shouldn't be. Sometimes I would leave after being in his company feeling very optimistic and happy, and sometimes I would leave and drive away crying, thinking this is just not manageable, this is not tenable. Nobody should have to live in this environment.
Not everyone can be a CASA, but I think a lot of times people self-doubt, you know, is this the right thing for me? And CASAs are, you know, ordinary. They're just like you and me. They just make the time to do this and they make the commitment to do it. And I think Jenny's case in particular is pretty unique. You know, a CASA serves on a case. Our program average is 2 years. But I think there are those cases where we have these volunteers that have just met the child when they're very young, and they just, how can you not love the child that you're advocating for and want the best for them and want to be able to be that consistent person and be the one that's not giving up on you when everybody else around you might be changing or everybody else you know, might be different.
Garlic powder in it, dice some onions, some bell peppers, some mushrooms. What are these mushrooms called again? Button mushrooms. And then we put some basil in it.
I was also shocked by bad information that would follow Trey that wasn't true. things that were just out and out not true and detrimental to his treatment and the way people treated him. The CASA is in the prime position to help clear up facts and to keep facts straight and to therefore help with the progression of treatment on the child instead of having to go back to the beginning and work it all over again.
Even if no advocacy had happened for a child like Trey, who's had his CASA for so many years, even just the gift of knowing that if I move placements, my CASA's gonna be there. If I change schools, my CASA's still gonna come find me and visit with me and be there and not lose track of me. Even if you take everything else out of that, we just don't know the power of that, the power of presence and the power of being there and being consistent might have for a child.
Jenny to me is that ideal mother that will be there for you, and if you get out of line, she'll encourage you. She helps you as much as she can and let you go make the mistake and let you learn from it, then instruct you on how to learn from it.
This is the beginning of Trey's next chapter in his life. And he is finally at a place that he gets to call the shots. He gets to explore his own happiness. He gets to explore what he wants. He gets to make himself comfortable. This is a time in his life that as his CASA, I've been promising for years he would get to. I would promise him, Trey, just hang in there, it gets better. You will be in charge of your own existence. You will be in charge of your own life. He's happier than he's ever been. And I'm not going anywhere. I think Trey knows that.
I believe that every kid should have a CASA because no child deserves to be left behind.